Here you go, they're out in the open. It's the President Walker 2, which looks incredibly similar in size to the original Walker, named after George Walker Bush. 7 colors, which we'll show you in a moment. Case is pretty heavy duty. It really is heavy radio, actually, no matter what you say. It is heavy. It's 12 volt, 24 volts. Decent paint job on the radio. Massive heat sink on the back. Strange for a 4-watt radio, shall we say. But it's got a heat sink, so what? Push button menus. New feature, first of all, you may not be able to see it, only done the 0, I'm sure, because of the camera. It's called tone. It's called tone control. You press it in to access it. +5 makes the receive very, very bassy. Sorry, trebly. It makes it trebly, and you adjust it to flat at 0. And if you want it more bassy, if you're running a subwoofer or a big speaker, you can knock it down to -5. I think you needed about 1 or 2, or maybe -1, probably in a car. It's got a big 3-watt speaker filling pretty much the bottom cover. What can I tell you? All the EU norms, President Roger bleep, this bloody horrible key bleep, which is the first thing everybody turns off, I would imagine. Color, say 7 display, 7 color display, green, blue, what's that, cyan, yellow, purple, clear, red, green. But the display on the S meter, which is a nice analog S meter, stays the same, doesn't change with the colors. The font of the menu is very similar to the bill to look at. Electret and dynamic mic option. SWR that you see on the President McKinley and the McKinley EU is featured on this one. 2 programmable emergency channels. Dimmer. We dimmed it a little bit to make it easier for you to see, or you can have this pretty much display off on 0. Yeah, I'd say 2 is probably good. Tone you've seen. Roger bleep. The standard President bloop. That's how it sounds. Filters, you have no filter, noise blank A&L for when you're in AM, and high cut filter. CBPA, and you probably see on the display it says PA is alternative flash in. AM FM, ASC is on the display as well. It's channel and frequency readout. Turn it off. Going back to the back of the radio. There you go, you can have a look. It's got a good chunky heat sink. And you'd be surprised, it is really quite heavy, this radio. It's not a light not a light unit. It's really quite heavy. So interesting on that. Controls are very much akin to the old Walker. You have RF power. On this one it does about just under a watt to about 3.8, 3.9 watts on EU band. On FM, AM with a whistle, it gets up to about 4.5 or so. 2.1 amp USB for charging your iPhone, your Android, your tablet, or whatever you need to charge. And we'll be back with a better video shortly. This was just to let you have a nose round to see that they're out in the open. Corrugated top with President etched in it, the same as with the old, same as with the Ronald and other new radios. But if there's anything to mention on this, I think the first thing is the weight. It is really chunky. So, which is a surprise for me, because based on some of the other older radios and recent releases, they've been quite light and easily scratched and other things. But this one is quite chunky. It's definitely a throw it in your truck or throw it in your car and leave radio. And we'll be back. You can have a look in the next video. We'll have it up and running and in action.